Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my van. We're going on a bit of a road trip. As you can hear, this is quite a loud road. I'm not sure how this intro is going to do, but you know, we're all good. Alright, so I'm on my way to an auction house, past a guitar shop slash music shop, and figured, hey, let's just stop in for a second. And what's it, allinstruments.com. I walked in and got nabbed. So what happened is I walked in and Dominic here, how's it going?
Good, thank you, yes.
So you nabbed me as I walked in and said, GGBO, what do I do?
Yeah.
Etc. You're a woodwind guy predominantly.
Yes, but I've always owned a guitar or played bass guitar,
yeah.
And so I ended up getting called on to fix those when they came into the shop.
Yeah.
And it's gradually evolved to a point where anything that's broken gets dumped in here unless it's a piano, in which case it goes to the other workshop.
Which I'm very interested in seeing.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, if you can repair woodwind, you can pretty much repair anything in existence.
Except for washing machines, which I have tried and failed at.
Oh yeah, no, that's just, I'm still in driving mode. I was not expecting to be filming and talking. Okay, well let's have a quick wander around. I've been wanting to do this sort of a video quite a lot, and then lockdown happened. So I'm planning on touring around people's workshops, not necessarily music based, predominantly
hand skills.
Anybody making anything, because I feel that we can learn things, and also it allows me to look at people's beautiful old tools. I have a bit of a weakness. Actually, the lathe.
It's a bit buried, I'm afraid.
Yep, that sounds about right. I've got the Myford ML7, but the first engineering lathe I ever touched in my life was, I think, one of these.
It's in a bit of a sorry state. It got dropped out the back of the van once.
Somebody dropped a lathe.
Once it starts going, you get out of the way because it's going to hurt.
Fair enough. So you say this is the dumping ground?
Yes.
And this is where just everything and anything comes in?
If it's not a piano, it gets dumped in here, but of course bits of piano also get dumped in here as well.
This is fun.
Probably quite a good cello somewhere in that.
The thing is, they were designed and built to be taken apart.
Yeah.
It just takes somebody. You've got the fingerboard there. So you're entering in GGBO. Which category?
The scratch build category.
Scratch build, which is by far the biggest category of the lot.
Yes, well, with a greater chance of sinking without trace. But
this is very true. This is very true. No, we're going to be promoting a lot of it as the whole thing carries on and gets moving. So on the main channel, I'm going to be putting sort of a like the sports teams do. These guys have got to the quarterfinals, and he's doing this, and that's doing that, and this guy's obviously lost his mind. He's turned a 6-string into a 24-string, and he's gone off the deep end. He's done a bend. Let's go and look at some tools.
Yep.
So predominantly a piano shop. When you started here, cheap guitars, and then
and we gradually built it up to do better
evolved.
guitars. And as the reason why I got into guitar making was because I started taking bits of defunct piano home and thought I must be able to do something with it.
I like that. I absolutely love. Oh, you've got an oak fretboard there.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a lovely fretboard. It's a bit unforgiving to work with because it's just so grainy.
Yeah.
But it looks beautiful. So I've no idea what the species of the top is. The back is piano. The front is a garden bench, but I've no idea what it was. Beechwood neck. And the dots are ebony from piano keys. Bar the front, all the wood is probably 100 years old.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
This is where they store all the parts required for working on piano.
This is my game.
A lot of these are very sort of parts from piano actions and stuff.
Yeah.
That are really of absolutely no use to anybody else. Even some of the screws are quite a specialist thing. That's another sort of part of a piano action.
And the piano business is still
surprisingly good.
Yeah.
And we actually had a lot of people suddenly deciding they're taking up piano during
lockdown. Yeah. Okay. Now the guys in the workshop don't necessarily want to be filmed. Not all of them. This is absolutely me out of my element, other than the fact that there are tools and people making things. This is awesome. The closest I've come to piano making was destroying one for the wood to try and make a guitar out of it. So kindred spirits.
Yes.
What's wrong with that?
There we go. Okay, so the piano business has gone very well recently, but also repairing and restoring presumably particularly good ones.
I mean, there's a lot of
And also not so good ones. A lot of people, for sentimental reasons, will have something restored.
Thanks.
It costs them more to restore it than it's worth. It's a big thing often in people's lives, that piano. They've known it since they were a kid. It was in grandma's house, it's in their mother's house, whatever.
And as long as they're still playing, well, I suppose even sometimes they're not playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as they're not too far. What's wrong with Hammer 4?
A lot of these guys are also piano tuners, so they're out on the road tuning pianos in people's houses.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll bring the piano action back here, just the action or the keys to work on.
Yeah.
Occasionally they'll do work in people's houses, and these are mostly stock pianos that they're working on now, but we do occasionally pick up customers' pianos and bring them back here to work.
Okay.
See how it goes.
So it's a case of you go, if it's absolutely fried, you might have to come back and do some physical work to fix the action and make it actually do what it's supposed to do.
We've done pretty much everything here, replacing what they call the plank where the tuning pins go in. There's a special piece of wood behind.
Yeah.
When that wears out, the piano can't be tuned anymore.
It's a perfect combination of traditional furniture making, and added in you've got the musicianship required of saying, hey, this piece of wood, if it's got a crack in it, it's not going to sound great, etc. And then on top of that, you've got the musician who needs it to feel a certain way and act a certain way, otherwise it's just not going to do its thing. The difference is you can't sling it on your back and carry it around with you.
We tried. That's probably its action over there. And a lot of piano work, it's essentially doing the same repetitive task 88 times, and then you do the next task. So this bit of felt has to be replaced, it has to be done on for every key.
Yeah.
So the way a piano action works, it's essentially a single mechanism for each key.
Yeah. I mean,
And
here,
a lot of the time they spend is replacing felt. It wears out or gets eaten by moths.
there isn't something that would replace that, I suppose.
No, various attempts have been made. There was a company in Ireland attempted to make plastic piano actions. But
Okay.
of course the plastic aged and became brittle, and they now just fall apart.
They do. Talking about plastic, tell me about plastic saxophones, since you're a woodwind guy. Thoughts?
The original Grafton ones made
Yeah.
back, I think Charlie Parker did one of his best
He did.
recordings of one of
Yeah.
those. They're amazing. I've had a go on a couple.
Okay.
Really good. Everything else since is a little toy-like.
Toy-like,
only
that's
way
the problem.
I could describe it.
I was fully expecting either I love them or you start swearing at me on camera, which is why I made sure to focus on your face there. So, how much actual making? Okay, now that's the question. Would it be a viable thing to make from scratch a piano now, in these days?
For us, it probably wouldn't be. The amount of tooling and stuff we'd have to get. I mean, there's no piano companies left in this country that make them.
None at all.
None at all. When did the last one go? Would it be Broadwoods or Kemble? So 2003 was probably the last manufacturer in this country that was making them.
Okay.
But there's different degrees of making, yeah, because a lot of companies bought the action in. There are companies
Of
like
course.
this one here is a Schwander action, but there's another Herberger Brooks is another action, and some
Okay.
companies built their own actions as well. So there's making and there's making.
Kit build, scratch build. We still buy in the pickups for half the guitars, but we also make our own pickups. But nobody makes their own tuners, for example. There's levels. I suppose the question is, how many people here would be tempted to make their own?
Their own
As a-
piano
yeah.
from scratch.
See, that's me. I would be like, oh, no,
I love a challenge, but it's like I'm in my 50s now. The idea of
you don't look it. I mean, it's utterly gorgeous, absolutely stunning. Flame mahogany. That's only a 3.5 gram piano.
yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Funny enough, I was just talking to Dave about putting more time into that and putting up for a lot more money. I was playing it for like an hour last night, and I think it could be really nice.
All right.
But I don't know if you can go for it.
So, I suppose it's exactly the same as with a guitar. If you've got a standard guitar that's just standard, it'll play. A good musician can make it sound good. but when it's properly set up, it's absolutely, it's it can be night and day.
What he's doing now, piano regulation, making it so that every key feels exactly right and responds as it is supposed to do.
And is that done with you just knowing what it should feel like, or do you have, in the vintage tool shop that I've got spring tensioning measurement tools and things come in?
There are a lot of, I've read a lot of books on the process, and there are a lot of books that sort of give you specific measurements that things should be, like the blow distance, the distance from the hammer to the string should be 47.5 millimeters, and the depth of the touch of the key should be 9.5 millimeters. And the set off where the hammer drops back from the string should be 2 millimeters. But I've tried to regulate pianos like that before, and I find that you can often get more out of them if you adjust those slightly.
And surely also the bass strings and the treble strings will react differently, and therefore you have to adjust that.
Because for example the bass strings are slightly closer because they're overstrung, so they come over the trichords.
Yeah.
So things like that should be taken into account. Some books say that you should take into account the thickness of the string.
That's what I would have thought.
But a lot of the times they say I might adjust this blow distance, move it slightly closer, so that there's a nice touch on the keys, nicer aftertouch. And there's all the weighting side of things as well, and like inertia and things like that. It's a fun game, that's for sure.
Yet you're sitting on the floor.
Which
I'm not built for that. I would not.
Neither am I, to be honest. It's the only way I've found. You just need to be at eye level.
No, I understand.
And like with grand pianos, you can slide the whole action out and work on a workbench. And I found before that when I've regulated grand actions on workbenches and they've been really nice, and then put them back in the piano, they've then been wrong.
Everything's moved.
Because the key bed in the piano isn't necessarily flat like the workbench is. And everything's... So then on grand pianos I'm still sat on the floor even though I can take the action out.
How much movement is there in between, regulating it and setting it up here and then taking it to somebody's house?
I can regulate in someone's house, but it's always a pain. Like I really try and push to regulate it here. But I could spend. The other thing is where you draw the line. I could spend several days regulating a piano, but there's usually not the budget for that really. So then, so if I was in someone's house, you obviously can't spend several days in someone's house, so then I try and just get it as nice as I could in maybe like 4 or 5 hours or something like that. And there are lots of different steps in the regulation process. Some of them arguably maybe slightly more important than others. So maybe I'd try and concentrate on getting all of the depth of touch perfect over getting the set off perfect, for example, if I was just trying to get it just playing a bit nicer. But and then obviously on really nice pianos, then you probably spend more time regulating it because it's kind of more justified. And then you get more high caliber musicians playing them. So they'll notice that there's a couple of grams heavy in the lower section on the touch, and notice that the set-off's a bit far away at the top, so you have to play a little bit harder to play pianissimo and things like that. So there's
always levels. There's levels within levels.
And then you're also limited somewhat to the instrument as well. Like Wellmars are good, I find. They tend to regulate quite nicely. I find that really short, stumpy pianos with really short actions, they're often quite difficult to regulate, I find, because all the action ratios are a bit compromised because everything's short and stumpy, and you can't usually can't always get them just how you want them. Whereas on big tall pianos where you've got more room, more to play with, they're nicer to adjust, I think. But I've never seen any books or anything saying that. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, you need to write the next book.
Well, yeah, maybe. But I feel like I've got a long way to go. I mean, I've been working on pianos for maybe 8 years or so, and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface.
How did you get into it?
Here, actually, I started teaching here, and then realised that they worked on pianos. I always wanted to work on pianos, but I thought you had to be an old blind guy to tune them.
Yeah.
With that stereotype.
That comes
Soon
with time.
realised. Sorry?
That comes with time.
Yeah, yeah, I'm getting there. I've had genuine disappointment when I've gone to someone's house to tune their piano. And they're like, "Oh, I was expecting an old blind guy, a nice old dog."
You should just carry some sunglasses with you, just to.
Yeah.
The idea of
I can do
in your
that.
car and then getting out with a white stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, parking it
Oh,
really
yeah.
badly on their garden. But yeah, and then that's the other element as well is tuning. You know, I mean, that's just a whole different ball game. Tuning is a tough old game.
And that's, you guys will go to somebody's house and spend an hour or two and tune it. And you're tuning it to itself as well. It is compensated, essentially.
Yeah, so every piano is tuned slightly differently. I tend to try and tune pianos at A440 hertz for A, and then tune everything else in relation to that.
Yeah.
But with older pianos, struggle to come up to concert pitch. Sometimes
Okay.
I tune them a bit lower or to themselves. But then the sort of every piano is tuned slightly differently. Because I use tuning software to set a couple of notes, and then I tune the rest by ear.
Yeah.
So I found that no matter how many times I've tried and adjusted my tuning profile on there, every piano is different. So like a concert grand, you might not tune quite as, you might not stretch the octaves quite as much as you might do on a shorter piano.
Okay.
And you've got to use your ears, man, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
Something
not an
that's...
exact science, so...
No, it's not. It's about the feel. If it's absolutely perfectly in tune, it sounds out of tune.
Yeah.
There's a guitar thing where they make these wiggly frets where it essentially perfectly intonates every single note down the guitar, but then your bass player doesn't have that, your keyboardist doesn't have that, and the guitar sounds off. And it's just fundamentally flawed, in my opinion. Fight me in the comments. But yeah, it is what it is.
But yeah, absolutely. It's and then of course, like if I tune a piano and I think it sounds really sweet and really nice, say like for a concert, and I've spent a lot of time on it, the next tuner might come along and he might stretch the top end more, or think that the bottom end doesn't sound flat enough. You tend to typically on shorter the shorter the strings are, the more you have to stretch the ends to kind of for a sweeter tone. Typically.
Okay.
But then how much you do that is kind of subjective.
So the next question then is, in the same way the guitarist will have his tech, do pianists have a particular tuner they like working with because they work to a certain feel that works with their music?
Yeah, I think artists often take a tuner on tour with them.
Okay.
And they'll have them tweak them in between, in between sets, and a lot of pianists do like it really, in a really specific way.
Yeah.
And yeah, some people have their tuner and won't go with anyone else.
Fantastic.
They just have it, they just like it that sound.
It is, yeah.
And I'll occasionally have a customer where they'll try it out when I finish, and they'll say, "Oh, can you just I've just been playing the tenths, and I just let them a bit more stretched, or the major third is beating slightly too slow, or and you do have to. I mean, it's quite rare that you have customers like that.
But the ones that know exactly what they want, that's the sort of person you really want to be working with anyway.
Yeah.
It's a different caliber. I'm absolutely had no idea there was that much nuance. I figured there might be, but people tend to think, specifically with classical instruments, that it is just, this is exactly what you have to do. But there is art, there is artistry, there is a feel. And, the musician, you're the pianist's rock star. I had Robert Fripp tell me that I, as a guitar builder, was the rock star by making the guitars themselves, and it's the same sort of thing. There's so much that goes behind. That sounds so freaking self-serving. Please ignore me. There's so much that goes behind the scenes to a performance that most people don't think about or care about, and I'm very happy that it works in the classical world as well.
Absolutely. When you go and get a pint in the interval for like a band or an orchestra or something, you nearly always will get a piano tuner that will come up kind of frantically tweaking and
Yeah.
kind of adjusting things, because when it's been thrashed by someone,
Absolutely.
they do just go out of tune, you know. Like a piano should be tuned, we recommend a piano should be tuned every 6 months, and some people think that's too frequent, like having to dish out that amount of money every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you think like, for a concert, it might be tuned a couple of times, just for that one, just for an hour. Of playing,
Yeah.
you know.
But perfection is, I mean, especially in that concert setting, perfection is absolutely essential. What is the average cost to tune a piano at the moment?
£69 is what we charge to tune a piano, but they vary anywhere from
Okay.
sort of probably 55 to £100 for a tuning.
All right.
It's very inconsistent.
That's
Across-
a lot. That's a lot less than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I can't stop looking at this quilted, mahogany and going.
I'll show you actually out in
You
the
do?
showroom. Actually.
Don't tempt me, because I really, it's like, yeah, it's a veneer, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can make a fair few
Most-
guitars out of that.
Yeah, most pianos are poplar under the veneer.
Okay.
It's fine for making bodies, but having made a poplar neck, I wouldn't want
Oh,
it again.
ha! No, don't do that. Don't do that at all.
I found that you get oak under the veneer, occasionally beech, sapele, walnut.
Sapele works very well. Walnut, that would be great.
Walnut with an oak neck is one of my preferred things.
Okay. I've never. I made a. Somebody asked me about oak, and I specifically said, "Yeah, you don't want to use oak to build guitars," and I get it in the neck on a regular basis. On that
It's
one.
very variable in density, which is why I probably think a lot of people don't use it.
Absolutely. So a lot of my viewers are in the States, and they have white oak there, which we don't have here, and it's completely different characteristics to what we've got. Anyway.
But you look at the engineering is absolutely gorgeous. Check this out.
Oh, that's cool. Beautiful. In a strange way. And does it sound appreciably different?
I can't play piano, but
Sounds awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, look, I'm gonna I'm gonna leave you guys to it now. This place is like a TARDIS. It's amazingly huge. There's even practice studios I've just found. I'm gonna come back and have a proper in-depth discussion at some point about piano making and all of that when I'm not supposed to be somewhere else. This was entirely unplanned, unprompted, and serendipitous. So yeah, yeah, let me know if you want more of this sort of content. Click like, subscribe, you know the drill. See you later. Bye.